Healthcare is the area where Democrats think they have the biggest advantage over Republicans. In fact, I've spoken to Democrats, including people who are campaign consultants and other folks I know from inside the swampy beltway in D.C., and they will tell you that it was largely healthcare, they believe, and public perception about healthcare that led them to a pretty substantial victory in the midterm elections for the House. That was the favorite issue for those consultants to get Democrats elected. And part of the issue that we have to keep dealing with here is that Democrats have two things going for them: fear and short-term versus long-term when it comes to healthcare. Fear, of course, that everyone is going to be thrown out, everyone's going to get pre-existing conditions and that they won't have coverage if they don't have Obamacare. The world's falling apart. This is all nonsense. Does anyone really feel like the country's markedly different since the passage of Obamacare when it comes to healthcare? You got more people on Medicaid, a lot more, millions more. Okay, fine. That's a welfare program. And you have an individual market with a lot of high deductible, pretty small network, crappy healthcare plans. And that's it. And an individual mandate that's supposed to financially buttress this whole thing, but that's now been taken away by the Trump administration. No, I understand. This is not, we'll talk about the Borat movie and Giuliani and stuff later to get a little more spice into the show. Because I know this can feel a little bit like schoolroom stuff, but this matters. Matters to you, matters to me. I mean, producer Mark and I are about to be choosing our healthcare plans here coming up. I'm sure other people are in that, what do they call it when you're choosing the healthcare, the period? You know what I mean?
Open enrollment.
Thank you. Open enrollment. We're going to open enrollment. And you look at these plans, and somehow it feels like every year, plan gets more expensive, healthcare options get worse. And I don't mean that for any particular company. I just mean every year, those are the mandates that you see with Obamacare. Those are the mandates you see from the government, right? It's somehow healthcare keeps getting more expensive, and your access to healthcare is in many ways getting worse. Why is that going on? Well, it's because when Joe Biden talks about the market, he doesn't really understand what a real market is. A market is individuals making choices based upon price, right? That's how a market actually works. You provide services and people consume services, and it's the free exchange thereof with price as the signal for what they want to do, what they don't want to do. We like to try to pretend that there should be no price in any of this, that you just get whatever you get. But that fails, and when I say we, I mean the Democrats and the people that are pushing this, that fails to take into account that it is in fact the case that healthcare is a limited good. Now, that doesn't mean we can't provide some form of healthcare from everyone. We obviously have emergency rooms where you must treat people no matter what, but not everybody's going to get to see the most reputable heart surgeon in the world. There's just not enough. Not everyone's going to get to see the top LASIK eye surgery doctor or whatever. Just not going to happen, right? There are market forces at work in this. And what the government keeps doing is saying, let's just subsidize things more. Let's make more decisions for people and then subsidize it more with taxpayer dollars. That's not a market. That's the government. That's central planning. This is the central failure of socialism at work. So that's what they are doing. And when they talk about setting up a public option, that will essentially turn into Medicaid on steroids, right? Why isn't Medicaid sufficient right now? Why isn't everyone saying, well, you have to only make a certain income to qualify for Medicaid, but the people on Medicaid generally don't have very good health outcomes. And why is that? Well, because for the program to even be a little bit solvent, and it's the main drag on state budgets in places like New York and New Jersey and Illinois, Medicaid, public sector pensions, that's why people's property taxes keep going up. Those are the drags on state budgets. Medicaid, I think in the case of New York, is by far the biggest one. All right, well, then why? Medicaid is very expensive to the state, to the taxpayer, but doesn't have very good outcomes. Why is that? Well, because they, even at the level that they're currently providing Medicaid services, they have a lot of doctors that won't take it. And in fact, Medicare doesn't even, I know people love Medicare who have it, and it's a very popular program, but it's because what it effectively does is it's a intergenerational subsidy where the future generations have to pay a tab currently being run up by people getting Medicare. I know people don't like to hear that, but that's true. That's why you take out twice what the average person, I should say, takes out of Medicare, twice what they pay into it. This is also why we have now a $5 trillion debt. I mean, I'm sure what I got to check what the debt is right now. But you see, all of these are just ways of moving around money that comes from the taxpayer and not actually dealing with the real challenge here, the real issue, which is that unless you have real competition, $27 trillion. That's right. We've got the $3 trillion extra this year. It has to be factored into the spending. $82,000 per U.S. citizen right now. $217,000 per taxpayer. That's where we are. The music's going to stop and there aren't going to be enough chairs, but we'll have that conversation another day. No one really cares to hear that stuff anymore. So we'll just wait till the currency is worthless. Hey, then we'll figure it out. Good stuff. So the public option will create, just like Obamacare was the beginning of the push for Medicare for all, the public option becomes a push for single payer. Because you'll see people will say, okay, why wouldn't everybody just want to take the public option healthcare plan? Well, because there are going to be all kinds of restrictions on it. Otherwise, it's very, very expensive, right? So they're going to put all these restrictions, which means that you're not going to have great doctor networks and people aren't really going to like the plan. It's not going to cover that much. And remember, health insurance isn't really insurance as we have it. It's subsidies. It's all these cross subsidies. You don't have a health insurance so that if you have a heart attack and you have to have a stent put in and all this stuff, you don't get a $300,000 bill. That's part of it. But for most people, health insurance is, okay, I'm going to go to my ENT doc and I want to pay $20 or I want to pay $50 copay and that's it. Okay, well, the doc is charging your health insurer $300, $400, $500, right? So these are all just machines for redistributing money to people. And there's a lot of politics involved in all this. You create a public option, and what happens is that the public option, people get put onto it, and then there's all this political pressure for the public option to get more and more subsidies so that the plan can be better and better for the people who are on it. And eventually, you'll just start to say, okay, well, why should a private insurer, or rather, why should a private business insure its employees? Just go get the public option. And the public option is not that good, but now you have more and more people on it. So what do? They use their power at the ballot box to start saying, yeah, but we're going to take more of your money to make this a better option for us. Then private insurers start to say, we can't compete with this. This is crazy. And yes, then you get to single payer. And that's how it works. The same way we told you that Obamacare was going to be a stepping stone to Medicare for all, which we all know now is true. Oh, and that they were planning all along on giving Obamacare to illegal aliens. Remember on the debate stage during the Democrat primary? All those hands went up. Turned out we were right about that. I'm telling you right now, a public option, it is feasible to work at a public option where this wouldn't be the case, but why would Democrats want to do that? Because that would require telling people who have the public option, sorry, this is the best you can get, right? And this is the best you're going to get. This is the best we can do while being fiscally responsible. Democrats aren't going to say that. They're going to say, oh, you're right. We got to cover everything. We got to cover your yoga lessons, too. So let's just jack up property taxes on people. That's the way it's going to work, folks. Then there's immigration. And this was interesting as well because it showed, one, that Joe Biden continues to repeat the original lies around the asylum at the border issue. Now, I went to the border multiple times, as you know, if you've been listening to me for a while, to spend time doing ride-alongs with Border Patrol, meeting with CBP, talking to people at the top level. We've had ICE and CBP and DHS chiefs on this show many times. It's a really important issue, and it's one that I find critical to the future of the country. And I just also think it's intellectually and politically fascinating. And here's the short version, in case you've forgotten. The asylum waves that were hitting the country about 2 years, a little over 2 years ago now, that was largely based on a loophole that had to do with people claiming that they were fleeing violence when really they were just fleeing a country with a crappy economy where they didn't want to still be. And they realized that if they came with a child, then they would go into a different part of the system and would immediately be released in the United States. And what people like me were saying at the time was they're not going to show up for their hearings. And this became the big debate. And all the libs, disingenuously, I think, many of them kind of knew. They were, laughing behind closed doors. They're saying this, oh, no, they'll all show up for their hearings. Why? Why show up for a hearing when then you're running the risk of being denied asylum when you've already been released into the United States? And you're a very low, especially if you're a mother with a child, you're a very low deportation priority. So you're good. So it was just an open door for people to come into the country. And that's why you had, as I remember, Border Patrol told me, a 34-year-old pretending that he was 17 because it also was a different program for minors. So there were all these scams, and the cartels were making hundreds of millions of dollars helping people with these scams. And they were doing this through individuals referred to as coyotes, who are the human traffickers in this whole process. And the different plazas, which is what the cartels call the areas along the southern border where they control and they break them up, and it's their turf, right? They make the money for people that come to the border there. And the cartels would use these coyotes. A lot of money going through people's hands. It was fascinating last night to see just how many dumbass blue checks think that coyote is a disparaging term for immigrants who are coming to the border. And these are people, I mean, what's the guy who went to, I think he's a Harvard student now, David Hogg, the guy who became the anti-gun activist, but he was 17, so you couldn't criticize him. And he would go around calling people blood-soaked terrorists, but if you said anything, then they need to boycott. You're attacking children. Notice how the libs love to do this? They did this with Greta Thunberg. Yeah, let's have a very odd 16-year-old lecturing us. Now she's 18, so game on, right? We can fight, we can argue. She's an adult, right? Are those the rules or no? Can you criticize people when they're 18? They have to be 21? I just want to know. They want people to be able to vote. Libs want people to be able to vote at 16, but I guess you can't criticize their politics until they're 18, 24, 28. I don't know. You can be on your parents' insurance until you're 26 with Obamacare, right? So maybe that's the new rule. I'm not sure. Of course, the rule changes depending on what Democrats need in the moment. But that guy Hogg, who's just, he had this whole thing about how coyotes was a terrible thing to say about people bringing their children to the border. It's like, the coyotes are the cartel employees doing the human trafficking, you utter morons. Blue checks all over the internet last night. Coyote, oh my gosh. Coyote is like it's like a racially disparaging term to, no. This is the term everybody uses for human traffickers, which is a criminal act. And these are the kind of human traffickers, when they work for the cartels, who, they'll leave people in a really dangerous situation. They'll leave people to die out in the desert if they can't keep up, right? I mean, that's what happens. They're not good people. The coyotes are bad guys. But just as when Trump calls MS-13 animals, they say, oh my gosh, you mean those gang members who, rape and mutilate and murder people for sport? Trump called them animals? How dare he? The libs don't care. Whatever works for them, whatever works to attack the president in the moment. But there was something worthwhile about this exchange on immigration last night, because Biden said path to citizenship. It's amnesty, folks. He's telling you it's amnesty. This is the biggest single thing the Democrats are going to try to accomplish. It is the top priority for them. They want amnesty. Absolutely. They want amnesty for illegals in this country. Because that's when we'll also find out, oh my gosh, suddenly it'll be, oh, we had no idea. We said it was 11.7 million people in the country legally. Turns out it's more like 20 to 25. Oh, yeah. Get ready for that, too. But the government that the government that has the geniuses at the FBI who thought that Carter Page was a Russian spy and set up a FISA on him, that government really knows how many illegals have come into the country over the last 20 years, right? Sure they do. That's why they fight at every turn trying to count the illegals properly. They don't want that to be known. You would think they would want it to be known, but no, they don't like that data to be kept. So amnesty is for real. And then there was the kids in cages line, which the Democrats love to bring this up. Well, Trump had something to say about that. Play clip 9.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Big, real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up question.
Kristen, they did it.
We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to
did
that?
It.
We
changed.
did not.
They built the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking
cages,
about.
Joe?
Let's talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped. Their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal.
Who built the cages? If you want to know, the Obama administration built the cages. And they're really just fenced-in areas. And I've seen those. I've been to those fenced-in areas. I've seen those fenced-in areas. And they are also temporary holding facilities where people usually would be processed within 24 hours. They are depressing. They are not nice. I'm not negating that in any way. But people tended to be in them for a day, maybe two. And then they were released into the interior of the United States after being processed by ICE. That's what was happening. The whole thing was a scam, by the way. These people were not fleeing violence. They were being trained by the coyotes who were bringing them to the border. Biden doesn't know what the heck he's talking about, but it doesn't matter. People just want to hear what they want to hear, especially Democrats.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.